Hello and welcome to ENI UK and Europe Edition. I'm Giancarlo Matera, reporting from London, England. We'll be bringing you news reports from around the United Kingdom and Europe, and we have live reporters on standby ready to give their reports. This week's headlines. Prime Minister Boris Johnson urges respect for COVID-19 measures to avoid new lockdown. The UK economy shrinks 19.8% after coronavirus impact. COVID-19 crisis damaging effect on Geneva, Switzerland's hotel industry, and flying taxis to be tested in French skies in June 2021. Joining us live, we have Love and Season, reporting on flying doctors in the UK's air ambulance tests its world's first gravity jet suit. Also joining us live, we have Ashley Espiritu from EBC UK, reporting on how pantomime dames have hit London streets to urge for virus funding. And also from EBC UK, we have a Parents' Appreciation Day held by the Iglesia Ni Cristo youth in Heathrow, London, reported by Arabelle Celestino. EBC Spain reports on students' return to school in Madrid under strict health measures, reported by Mark Julius Alla. Also from EBC Spain, the Iglesia Ni Cristo members demonstrate unity and care through online activities, reported by Catherine Arceo. From EBC Belgium, we will be given a tour of the Brussels Upper Town by Maria Dowson. And from our EBC Sports Report, we report on how the injured Serena Williams has withdrawn from the French Open this year, as defending champions Rafael Nadal and Simona Halep cruise through to the next round. And as always, we will end our show with our view from a window from one of our beautiful European cities. But first, the news headlines. Prime Minister Boris Johnson urges respect for COVID-19 measures to avoid a new lockdown. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was spared a rebellion by his own MPs over coronavirus regulations on Wednesday, but the House of Commons Speaker accused him of treating lawmakers with contempt. More than 50 MPs in Johnson's Conservative Party had threatened to support a motion demanding more say over future rules to stop the spread of the virus, accusing ministers of governing by decree. But they were denied a chance to vote on the proposal after Speaker Lindsay Hoyle ruled there was not enough time for a proper debate. However, in a rare statement delivered as Johnson prepared to take questions in the Commons, Hoyle launched a stinging attack on the way restrictions have been brought in so far. Hoyle has repeatedly admonished ministers for announcing virus restrictions to the media before Parliament and for allowing insufficient time for them to be debated before they come into force. Many lawmakers also accused Johnson of having no respect for Parliament after he shut it down last year at a crucial point in Britain's tortuous exit from the European Union, a move later quashed and declared unlawful by the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, a nationwide stay-at-home order imposed in March in response to the coronavirus outbreak was lifted in June, but new restrictions are being introduced as infection rates rise again. Some 16 million people are now subject to some kind of localized lockdown rules across the UK, including bans on meeting with other family. The devolved governments in England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have also imposed national limits, including on social gatherings and pub opening times. Yet there is widespread public confusion about what is allowed. Even Boris Johnson himself has got it wrong. While many Tory MPs are angry at the erosion of personal freedom, the government says it must have the power to act quickly to clamp down on localized outbreaks of coronavirus, which has killed 42,000 people in Britain so far, the highest toll in Europe. The UK economy shrinks 19.8% because of the coronavirus impact. Britain's economy shrank by almost a fifth in the second quarter, entering recession because of the nationwide coronavirus lockdown. Gross domestic product contracted by a record 19.8% in the April-June period, and the Office for National Statistics said in a statement that revised its initial figures of a 20.4% slump. The economy also declined by 2.5% in the first quarter. That was, however, worse than the previous figure of a 2.2% decline. The grim data confirmed Britain has entered a recession, with 2 consecutive contractions in economic activity, sparked by the nationwide lockdown that started on March 23 that was not relaxed fully until early June. It is clear that the UK is in the largest recession on record. Nothing also global health emergency has sparked record declines in economic activity around the world in the second quarter. The latest estimates show that the UK's economy is now 21.8% smaller than it was at the end of 2019, highlighting the unprecedented size of this contraction. There are fears that the new restrictions aimed at preventing a second nationwide lockdown could snuff out any expected fragile recovery in the third quarter. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson last week tightened restrictions to stem a surge of the coronavirus cases, ordering pubs to close early and advising people to go back to working from home. The renewed COVID-19 restrictions will probably mean that the GDP stagnates in the fourth quarter, said Capital Economics analyst Ruth Gregory. And the risk now is that renewed containment measures send the recovery into the reverse. Economists are also fearful that Britain could experience spiking unemployment after the government's furlough job scheme, under which it subsidizes private sector wages, ends in October. We go now to Europe, where the COVID-19 crisis is having a damaging effect on Geneva, Switzerland's hotel industry. Geneva in Switzerland is usually a hub for international and diplomatic business activities. This is also the reason why the Swiss city is said to have the highest hotel density in the world. However, since the coronavirus crisis hit and the terrible summer for businesses and tourism activity, some luxury hotels in Geneva are now struggling. The current status is far from the usual 3.2 million night stays per year, with a forecast of no more than 1.3 million night stays by the end of this year, which is 60 to 65% lower than in the past years. The hotel business is one of the most affected industries in the coronavirus crisis. The president of the Geneva Hotels Association likened the situation to be as if the hotel sector is in such danger that an entire profession is currently in intensive care. The health crisis is threatening the jobs of thousands of people in the hotel sector in Geneva. He continued that if the situation does not get better, the sector, he says, will be heavily impacted by closures and bankruptcies. Just like what happened to five-star hotel Richemont, which had to close its doors after 145 years of being in business. The hotel owners in Geneva region have asked the government to create a way to help them survive and recover until the situation finally gets better, seeking that health and economic interests both be taken into consideration. Flying taxis are to be tested in the French skies in June 2021. The urban air mobility is a new market that France wants to be a leader of, and they have selected Volocity, a drone-like, fully electric vehicle takeoff and landing vehicle produced by German company Volocopter, to reach this goal. Testing of the innovative vehicle is planned for mid-2021 from an aerodrome north of Paris in anticipation of the 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games. The testing will consist of parking, taking off, landing, maintenance, and recharging operations in a real aeronautical environment. The experiment will push through, subject to the approval of residents, security protocols, and air traffic regulations. Preparations will start in the first half of 2021 for the parking areas, recharging stations, and ground markings. Volocopter is hoping to get full certification from the European Union Aviation Safety Agency within 2 to 3 years. And Paris's public transport operator, RATP, estimates the rollout to be in 2030. Their long-term goal is to integrate mini takeoff and landing zones in urban areas. Volocity has 18 rotors and 9 battery packs, flying at 110 kilometers or 68 miles per hour at an altitude of 400 to 500 meters. With a range of 35 kilometers, it can carry a maximum payload of 200 kilograms or 440 pounds. As an additional alternative to current modes of transport, flying taxis are seen as one of the solutions to limiting traffic pollution and congestion. Volocity has already been tested in other parts of the world, and companies such as Boeing, Airbus, Toyota, and Hyundai are working on similar projects. It's time for a break now, but please come back for more ENI UK and Europe edition.
Congratulations! Lloyd Sarausos!
Pinangako ko rin sa sarili ko na kahit anong mangyari, kahit ilang beses madapa, babangon at babangon ako para abutin ang aking pangarap.
Eric and Jenny Morandarte!
Makikita mo yung pagmamahal kapag magkasama kayong kumakanta.
As na kumakanta kami ng mula sa puso.
Purple Heart!
Here I am joining Tagi sa Nanggaling, hoping that the judges will also see the star in me.
Tatlong contenders ang magtutunggalian sa kantahan. Abangan natin kung sino kina Lloyd Sarausos, Eric and Jenny Morandarte at Purple Heart ang unang pwesto sa quarter elimination.
Tagi sa Nanggaling Part 2 is co-presented by Cooper, an expert in air conditioning and electromechanical, also engaged in structural, electrical, fire protection, plumbing, and sanitary services. Cooper, your ultimate MEPS and air conditioning solutions. Unlad Incorporated International, fight against global poverty. Canrib Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. Our sponsors, BDO, we find ways. JRC Industrial Sales, RS Square Variables Incorporated, your trusted UPS supplier and UPS maintenance provider in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Chris Rapp Enterprises, Victory Carpentry, DOP Asiatic Pest Control Services, and AUB, Aspire for the Future, in partnership with New Era University ETEEAP, Expanded Tertiary Education, Equivalency and Accreditation Program. Embrace Cafe, we embrace differently abled persons.
Welcome back to ENI UK and Europe edition. Now for some more interesting stories from around the United Kingdom this week. Joining us live now, we have Love and Season, reporting on how a new way to reach people in distress in isolated places was successfully tested in the UK. Hello, Love Anne, please tell us more.
Hi, Giancarlo. Yes, that's right. So emergency responders and engineers in Britain have successfully tested the world's first jetsuit paramedic, which could transform how lifesavers reach isolated casualty sites. The Great North Air Ambulance Service, or GNAAS, which provides emergency air response across northern England, said it had helped flight test the 1,050 brake horsepower jetsuit in the Lake District National Park. The trial saw Richard Browning, the founder of Gravity Industries, which has pioneered the technology, fly from the bottom of a valley up to a simulated casualty site in 90 seconds, compared to a 25-minute response time on foot. Video of the simulated exercise shows Browning wearing a helmet, goggles, and red flight suit equipped with a jetpack-style device, powering off the ground and zooming through the air just above the surface of the rocky terrain. Andy Mawson, director and paramedic in Great North Air Ambulance Service, explains the main reasons behind the project. Let's listen in.
Is an hour that somebody is lying in pain or maybe deteriorating from something that sounded maybe innocuous at first, like perhaps becoming a bit breathless and feeling a bit sick, but actually that patient's having a heart attack. You know, for our paramedics to get on scene within a matter of minutes and recognise that can mean the difference between life and death. Go wrong, but on the second day of the exercise, we actually simulated a full rescue involving the local mountain rescue team, for which I'm eternally grateful, and our aircraft as well. And the whole thing worked beautifully well. And, you know, I think both teams came away from that feeling that, you know, actually, as as kind of far out and as extreme as this sounds, it is actually a possibility. And I think one videos, but what we have got in the Lake District is the perfect geography. We've got a team of people that can do the job. We've got the technology that can do the job. So there is, there's no real reason why in the fullness of time that we won't see GNAS paramedics using that technology, saving lives and easing suffering.
So Andy Mawson said the charity chose the test location based on its call-out data and had little idea how the tech would fare in the real world. We've seen it now, and it is quite honestly awesome, he said in a statement. Mawson added that at a time of strained healthcare provision because of the coronavirus pandemic, it was important to still push the boundaries. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you, Lavan. This is great news, especially in the emergency health sector, and it clearly opens it up to many possibilities. Could you tell us more about the companies behind this amazing invention and what's going to happen next?
Yes, of course, Giancarlo. So the Great North Air Ambulance Service, or GNAS, responds to more than 1,500 call-outs a year and relies on donations to fund its operations. The successful test flight was the culmination of a year of discussion with the gravity industries. The charity was now exploring the next steps in this collaboration, it said. Richard Browning, the founder of Gravity Industries, said it was wonderful to have tested his gravity jet suit with active emergency responders. Emergency response is one of the areas Gravity Industries are actively pursuing. Browning also added that they are just scratching the surface in terms of what is possible to achieve their technology. And Carlo?
Thank you, Lavan, for that report. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to more interesting stories from you next week.
Thank you, Giancarlo. This is Lavan Advoyanosa Season reporting from London, United Kingdom. We live in interesting times.
Our next live reports come to us from Ashley Espiritu. As the art sector in London is hit by the coronavirus crisis, pantomime dames take to the streets. Hello, Ashley. Can you tell us more about this recent development?
Hello, Giancarlo. Thank you. Extravagantly dressed pantomime dames brought a dash of colour to central London on Wednesday to highlight the plight of the coronavirus-ravaged art sector. Dozens of dames, male actors in grand frocks and gaudy makeup, who are a staple of Britain's historic holiday time stage shows, were among protesters who marched on Parliament. Let's listen in.
Parliament. It's a farce. It is a glorified farce, which includes pantomime dames, normally men dressed as women. There are the heroes, who traditionally are women dressed as boys. Everything is a 12th night topsy-turvy chaos. And actually, at the minute, that's how we all feel. But there's one pantomime villain this year, and it's Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor.
I'm here today to help to shine a light on the state that our industry is in. It's on its knees, and it's not just pantomime dames. There's princes and princesses all over the country that need the work, and not just the people on the stage, but behind the scenes and all that sort of stuff as well. I think the man just said there's 38,000 members of Equity of the union, so as well as being bright and fabulous, it's also an important issue.
They were calling for further funding from the government to save jobs after the 2020 panto season was cancelled due to the virus. Many theatres have had to remain closed because of difficulties enforcing social distancing rules, plunging many into debt and forcing staff to be laid off. Without a pantomime season, theatres are essentially losing, in some cases, almost 40% of the revenue they need to spread out to do the great work that they do every year, said Paul Fleming, General Secretary-elect of the acting union Equity. So you risk, without a pantomime season, without a workforce adequately supported, you lose artists, you lose theatres, you lose producers, he told AFP. You see the collapse of this industry, and that delivers hundreds of billions of pounds to the British economy every year, and something vital for every community. Also on Wednesday, philanthropist Vivian Duffield announced her foundation will donate £2.5 million, equivalent to $3.2 million, €2.75 million, to various cultural institutions to stem their losses. This will be to get them out running again, to help them in every way they want, Duffield said at a news conference at the Royal Academy of Arts, also in central London. Back to you, Giancarlo.
Thank you for those details, Ashley. Where else will this distribution of the donation contribution go to?
The endowment is reserved for establishments that already work with the foundation and will be divided among 21 museums, 19 galleries, 8 theatres and 18 other cultural venues. Major London institutions including Tate Britain, the Tate Modern, the British Museum and the V&A Museum will benefit, along with regional venues such as the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford-upon-Avon and the Museum of Liverpool. Duffield called for the endowment to be used imaginatively, creating digital offerings or helping to adapt to cater for smaller groups. Cultural institutions have been particularly hard hit by the lockdown imposed to limit the coronavirus pandemic in Britain. The country has been Europe's worst hit and more than 42,000 people have died. Concern is now mounting about a surge in cases. The government promised the sector an unprecedented £1.57 billion in aid in July, which was welcomed as vital but possibly not sufficient. Tom Morris, artistic director of the Old Vic in Bristol, which will benefit from the endowment, called it an opportunity. Today's gestures give an opportunity, while we are celebrating the government's investment in culture, to also argue very clearly about where the next available funds should be spent, he told reporters. Back to you, Giancarlo.
As always, thank you for your report, Ashley, and we hope to hear from you again next week.
Thank you for having me, Giancarlo. I'm Ashley Spiritu, BBC correspondent from London, United Kingdom, and we live in interesting times.
For our final story coming from the United Kingdom, here's a look at an activity held by the Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ in Heathrow, London, where youth members expressed their thanks to their parents. Arabelle Celestino reports.
The youth members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ here in Heathrow, United Kingdom, organized an online event dedicated to their parents. It is true that we are facing interesting and unprecedented times, but that doesn't stop these kids to spread love, positivity, and happiness to their parents, who are working even harder to keep them safe and sound during this pandemic.
Parents Appreciation Day was packed with fun and meaningful activities to show just how thankful the youth members are towards their respective parents.
It's good to appreciate your parents so they know that you love them.
It's important for me to appreciate my parents because they buy me my favorite snacks and foods.
It's important because Mommy and Daddy loves me. Because they teach me how to be a good girl.
It's important for me to appreciate my parents because they are loving and caring for me, and without them I wouldn't have been born. I would like them to know that I appreciate everything they've done for me.
It is important to appreciate our parents because since birth they would always take care of us and they would always pray for our healthiness and growth.
It gave parents a chance to sit back, relax, and spend some quality time with their kids. There were wonderful musical numbers performed by the youth. One of the activities involved the kids drawing their favorite characteristic about their mom or dad, and they proudly showed it to everyone. A heartfelt message filmed by the parents to their children was also shared during this event. And of course, throwback pictures. That's a must.
I'll give you 5 seconds if you can guess who this is.
Baby pictures of the children and pics of younger parents. But another thing that melted everyone's hearts was the love letter segment, where the children's letter for their parents were read out to mom and dad.
Carissima mamma, innanzitutto vorremmo ringraziarti per la tua pazienza. Having 5 monkeys is hard, right, Bob? So here is our letter for you, and we hope you can feel our coolness, and especially our love for you. We thank you, Almighty God, for giving us an awesome mom, a woman, a mom with so much love, patience, strength, and most especially faith. Thank you, Mom, for always being there. Thank you because even if Daddy is not here anymore, you are doing as much as possible to support this family. Thank you because you always want the best for us. Thank you for trying your best to be the best mom to us. Thank you for everything. We love you so much from the bottom of our hearts and our stomach. Although we still prefer Dad's cooking. Joking. We love your desires. Don't worry, Mama. You're learning how to cook, so we won't complain anymore. Con amore, Erika, Eribel, Ayan, Eric Samuel, and Eric Daniel.
This wonderful online event pulled heartstrings. It brought smiles and tears of joy to those who participated. It showed the importance of appreciating others, especially the parents.
I am very happy that my children appreciate what I have done for them.
It's very nice to be appreciated because it shows that our hard work, not only in raising but also in teaching the Word of God, is appreciated and being followed by our children. And it's very nice to see that all of the children in attendance today, who took part in this Parents Appreciation Day, are really appreciating their parents, and they're able to see the efforts that their parents go through and the sacrifices that their parents have to make to bring them up properly, not only as responsible citizens, but most of all as good children, servants of our Almighty God.
We have seen today how much this means to the young members of the Church of Christ, as they joyfully express their love and thanks to them. Reporting from London, United Kingdom, I'm Aribel Celestino. We live in interesting times.
What a memorable event for the parents and their children. Thank you again, Aribel. It's time for a break, but please come back for more ENI UK and Europe edition.
Do you want to earn a degree while you work? New Era University now offers Expanded Tertiary Education Equivalency and Accreditation Program, or ETEEAP. ETEEAP is an educational scheme that recognizes knowledge, skills, and prior learning obtained by individuals from non-formal and informal education experiences. It is implemented through deputized higher educational institutions like the New Era University that awards the appropriate degrees. Programs offered are the following: Master's Program, Masters of Arts in Education, major in Educational Management, Master's Program in Business Administration, Bachelor of Arts in Science, major in Political Science, Bachelor of Arts in Science, major in Mass Communication, Bachelor of Science in Education, major in Filipino, major in English, Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with majors in Human Resources Development, Marketing Management, and Financial Management. Beneficiaries must be Filipinos who have attained at least high school level of education. The program is flexible and you don't need to attend regular classes. Expanded Tertiary Education Equivalency and Accreditation Program, or ETEEAP, is under the supervision of Dr. NILO ROSAS, the University President, and Professor ANITA P. Santos, Director of ETEEAP. For more information, contact the following: Cristina Moreno, 0995-138-0786, or email cvmoreno@neu.edu.ph, or Arlene Sarmiento, 0906-298-9150, or email cedctl@neu.edu.ph. What are you waiting for? Let New Era University be your partner in achieving your dreams.
Welcome back to ENI UK and Europe Edition. Now we have more interesting stories from across Europe this week. We first go to Madrid, Spain, where more than 400,000 students have returned to school. Mark Julius Alla brings us the safety measures put in place by the government and the reaction of some parents. Let's watch Mark's report.
After 6 months at home, 412,000 students from Madrid returned to the classrooms. The government of the Community of Madrid will test its security plan at the time of the pandemic.
Abel, where are you going?
On the school.
To the school?
Yes.
Very good, let's go.
Return to classrooms is carried out in a phased manner. In the second cycle of children's education and the first 3 primary courses, there will be education, but the number of students in stable coexistence groups will be reduced to a maximum of 20, or the safety distance of 1.5 meters will be respected.
Para sa akin, hindi ako sangayon kasi yung safety ng mga bata hindi pa ganun ka-secure dito sa Espanya. Pero ang utos ng gobyerno ay papasukin, kaya no choice naman tayo mga magulang kundi papasukin para na rin sa kanilang pag-aaral at matuto ng karagdagang kaalaman.
Bilang isang magulang, nangangamba pa rin ako sa kaligtasan ng mga bata ngayong magbabalik eskwela na sila ngayong Setyembre. Dahil hindi pa ganap na ligtas ang sitwasyon dahil sa coronavirus. Kaya tanging ginagawa ko ay lagi kong pinapaalalahanan ng anak ko na hanggat maaari, wag muna siyang makisalamuha o makipaglaro sa kanyang mga kaklase. Pero sa kabila ng lumalalang sitwasyon, nagpapasalamat pa rin ako sa gobyerno ng Espanya dahil ginagawa nila ang lahat ng paraan para maging ligtas ang lahat, lalong-lalo na ang mga bata.
Masasabi ko po na hati ang aming nararamdaman at opinyon ukol sa bagay na yan. Masaya kami na makita na ang mga bata na sabik silang muling makapasok sa kanilang mga paaralan, makita ang kanilang kaibigan at kaklase. Ngunit sa kabilang banda, bilang isang magulang, hindi maiiwasan na mag-alala ka at mag-isip, lalo pat ngayong mas dumarami ang bilang ng mga nagkakasakit dito sa Espanya. At may mga pagkakataon din na yung mga kakabukas pa lamang na paaralan, muli itong nagsasara dahil na kanilang nasusumpungan mayroong mga nagpo-positibo na guro at mag-aaral.
Cleaning processes shall be extremely extreme and provided with hydroalcoholic gels and masks mandatory from the age of 6, except for justified medical reasons. The Madrid community shall establish a COVID-19 coordinator by school and shall set up a protocol to detect and follow up cases of coronavirus isolated in a classroom of suspicious and possible cases. Reporting from Madrid, Spain, I am Mark Julius Ala. We live in interesting times.
Thank you for your report, Mark. We remain in Spain, where even during the pandemic, the members of the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ continue to show how much they give importance to their faith. Catherine Arceo reports again from Madrid.
The members of the Church of Christ in Spain remain active in the church activities despite the pandemic.
The pandemic is not an obstacle to members of the Church of Christ to stop fulfilling their duties and no longer being active. Members of the Church of Christ in Spain carried out the Welcome Kapatid Ko activity using new technologies where attendants from their homes were able to attend the program that had musical presentations and fun games involving attendants. These activities help further strengthen the faith of members, and above all, they show their union with the church administration.
Reporting from Madrid, Spain, I am Caterina Theo. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Catherine and EBC Spain, for your reports today. We now head to Belgium as Maria Dowson gives us a tour of Brussels' Upper Town. Let's watch Maria's report.
Sightseeing by foot is what you like? Then let me show you some places you can visit here in the Upper Town part of Brussels, and all under a minute walking distance from each other. Our first stop, Mont des Arts, or in English, Hill of the Arts. There, you can just relax and enjoy the beautiful garden. You can also go up the stairs and enjoy the view it gives over the garden and the lower part of Brussels. While looking around, you might also notice a glass cube building with a tree-like structure inside. Well, that is actually the Square Meeting Convention Center. So here you are looking over the garden. Just look back and you will see the Royal Square. While walking to the Royal Square, you will also pass by the Musical Instruments Museum. Fun fact, in the year 2000, the museum has been located in the former Old England department store, so you surely won't miss it. This museum is part of the Royal Museums for Arts and History and internationally renowned for its collection of over 8,000 instruments. Want more museums? Then take a walk around the Royal Square, where the main museums such as Royal Museums of Fine Arts, the Magritte Museum, or the Bellevue Museum are located. Finally, the Royal Palace of Brussels. This palace is actually not the royal residence. The king and his family live in the Royal Palace of Laeken. Oh, look, the flag of Belgium. This means that the king is currently in Belgium. Want to see more? Come and visit the beautiful city of Brussels. There is way more to see and enjoy than the upper town of Brussels.
Reporting from Brussels, Belgium, I'm Maria Dowson. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Maria, and our EBC Belgium Bureau for that report. Injured Serena Williams withdraws from the French Open as Rafael Nadal and Simona Halep cruise through. Serena Williams suffered another blow in her bid for a 24th Grand Slam title as the American withdrew from the French Open on Wednesday with an Achilles injury, while 12-time champion Rafael Nadal and women's top seed Simona Halep eased into the third round. The 39-year-old Serena Williams, a three-time winner at Roland Garros, pulled out ahead of her second-round match against Svetlana Pironkova, citing the injury that prompted her to skip the Rome tune-up event. The injury likely means she will miss the rest of 2020, leaving the Australian Open in 2021 as her next chance to equal Margaret Court's all-time majors record. Rafael Nadal looked in ominous form as he stepped up his pursuit of Roger Federer's 20 major titles, with a crushing win over 236th-ranked American Mackenzie McDonald. The Spaniard batted aside McDonald 6-1, 6-love, 6-3, and will meet Stefano Travaglia of Italy for a spot in the last 16. The 34-year-old needs one more major title to pull level with longtime rival Federer, and he owns an astonishing 95-2 record in Paris, going back to his triumph on debut in 2005. The women's favorite and 2018 champion Simona Halep beat compatriot Irina Begu 6-3, 6-4 to extend her career best winning streak to 16 matches. However, her next opponent is an American 25 seed, Amanda Anisimova, the teenager who dumped Halep out in straight sets in last year's quarterfinals. The US Open champion, Dominic Thiem, swept into the third round with a 6-1, 6-3, 7-6 victory over another American qualifier, Jack Sock, saving 3-set points to close out the match. Stan Wawrinka of Switzerland, the 2015 French Open winner, followed up his demolition of Britain's Andy Murray with a win over Germany's Dominik Koepfer. We look forward to reporting next week as the tournament enters its final stages. Before we end this week's show, let's just take you to Lugano, Switzerland for our view from our window. Lugano is a city in the Swiss-Italian canton of Ticino. It boasts of having a Mediterranean charm with its mild temperatures and beautiful landscapes, on top of being a center for finance, culture, education, and arts. To get a better understanding of the beauty of Lugano, put on your hiking shoes and take in the breathtaking view of the city, its lake, and surrounding mountain range from the tip of Monte Bre. These videos are courtesy of Christine Benedicto from EBC Switzerland. Thank you so much for that beautiful view. And that's it for this week's show. Stay safe and keep positive as we will bring you more stories next week from the United Kingdom and Europe. I'm Jakar Matera, and we live in interesting times.